Ladies and gentlemen, tennis supporters from around the world and especially the millions of hearts pooling together across the Asian continent, welcome back. If you're tuning in at this moment, you have stepped into a scene that history may well mark as a defining shift. We are broadcasting live from the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open, a WTA 500 tournament that typically guarantees fast-paced tennis, but tonight it has produced something much deeper than a simple contest. It has produced a declaration. A declaration shouted from the baseline, reverberating at the net and felt deep within the bedrock of Asian sports history. The headline is lighting up screens from Manila to Jakarta, from Tokyo to Dubai. All of Asia is stunned, though stunned may not fully capture it. Energized might be closer, justified may be even more precise. We're discussing the women's doubles round of 16, a match that many initially marked as an intriguing sideshow, a Southeast Asian showcase, but which has transformed into a full-scale gladiatorial saga. On one side of the net stood the newly assembled Dream Team alliance of Philippines standout Alexandra Eala and Indonesia's emerging talent Janice Jen, a partnership created out of competition, shaped by intense regional battles, and now united beneath the flag of Southeast Asian greatness. On the opposite side, the overwhelming favorites, the seasoned campaigners, the towering wall of experience, the Filipino-Canadian star Leylah Fernandez and the highly accomplished French doubles expert Kristina Linovich. Let's be honest about the storyline entering this match. The tennis world, the analysts, the betting lines all examined this draw and recognized a clear pecking order. You have Fernandez, a Grand Slam finalist, and Linovich, a multi-time Grand Slam doubles champion. They symbolize the establishment, the trusted force, the proven standard high-ranked powerhouses. Then you had Eala and Chen, skilled, unquestionably gifted without question. But on the WTA 500 stage against a pairing of that stature, they were viewed as the outsiders. They were the passionate challengers expected to compete bravely, gain experience, and exit politely. But sports, my friends, does not operate on a script authored by statisticians. Tonight, beneath the floodlights of the Z Sports City International Tennis Center, that script was rewritten through effort and resolve. We have just witnessed a match that overturns the straightforward logic of rankings. We have seen a level of chemistry from Eala and Chen that normally takes years to build, yet they discovered it in mere days. We have watched the Civil War storyline, Eala versus Fernandez, the Philippines' homegrown hero against the global figure with Filipino roots, unfold not with hostility but with intense competitive respect that drove both women to their absolute limits. This outcome, and I will not reveal the exact scoreline just yet, because the path to that final point is where the true magic lives, is sending shockwaves because it shakes the established order. It tells the world that the tennis surge in Southeast Asia is not on the way. It is here, it is alive, it is battling, and it is succeeding. Alex Eala, coming off her career-best ranking of world number 45, and Janice Jen, the first Indonesian WTA semifinalist, walked onto that court not only as competitors but as representatives. The pressure resting on their shoulders was enormous. You carry the expectations of two archipelagos. Two nations that are deeply obsessed with tennis, yet often deprived of elite representation on the sport's grandest stages. Tonight, they did not simply bear that burden, they turned it into a weapon. What we are analyzing today goes far beyond forehands and backhands. It is about the mental toughness required to stare down a Grand Slam champion like Mubadala at the net and never flinch. It is about the tactical brilliance of shutting down Leylah Fernandez's pace redirection. It is about the pure boldness of two young women who looked at the favorite's tag and chose to rip it apart. Stay tuned. You are not going to want to miss a single second of this analysis. We are going to break it down game by game, set by set. We will examine the serves, the returns, the rapid-fire volley exchanges that unfold at lightning speed. We will explore what this means for Eala's season, for Jen's rising value, and for the future of Asian tennis pairings. This is the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open. This is the match that brought the region to a standstill. This is the deep dive. Let's move straight into the core of this showdown. To grasp the magnitude of what unfolded on court today, we first need to understand the backdrop of the competitors. First, consider the opposition. Leylah Fernandez and Kristina Linovich. This is a frightening pairing. Linovich is widely regarded as one of the most accomplished doubles players of her era. She has golden hands at the net, court coverage that overwhelms rivals, and a doubles tennis IQ that is virtually unmatched. Combine that with Leylah Fernandez, a left-hander like Eala but one who thrives in disorder, who takes the ball early, and who brings a singles player's intensity into the doubles lanes. They are a team capable of beating you with raw power but one that prefers to defeat you with geometry. They carve angles that seem impossible. Now turn to our Southeast Asian challengers. Alexandra Eala and Janice Jen, rivals turned partners, is the headline everyone is using, and it fits perfectly. Remember, Jen defeated Eala in the quarterfinals of the Sao Paulo Open last year. They understand each other's games intimately, typically as opponents, but in doubles that familiarity transforms. Jen knows exactly where Eala prefers to place her serve, which means she knows precisely how to poach behind it. Eala knows Jen's movement patterns, so she knows exactly when to switch and protect a line. The match opened with a tangible tension hanging in the air. The crowd in Abu Dhabi, heavily filled with Filipino and Indonesian expatriates, generated an atmosphere that felt less like a neutral setting and more like a Davis Cup or Billie Jean King Cup tie. The energy was electric, but it also carried weight. Set 1, the baptism by fire. The opening set was a masterclass in welcome to the big leagues delivered by Fernandez and Linovic. From the very first games, Linovic targeted the Gen serve. It was a deliberate tactical choice. They wanted to isolate the Indonesian, keeping the ball away from Eala's heavy left-handed forehand. Linovic pressed close to the net, cutting off angles, forcing Jen to attempt near-perfect passing shots just to stay alive in rallies. We saw Eala struggle early to find her rhythm on the return. Fernandez's serve, while not the fastest on tour, is exceptionally deceptive. She employs a wide slice on the ad court that drags the returner off the court, opening the center for Linovic to simply punch away a volley. It is a textbook doubles pattern executed with clinical precision. By the fifth game, Eala and Jen were down a break. The score stood at 4-1. At this point, the shock what everyone was talking about seemed unthinkable. It looked like a routine day at work for the favorites. The gap in experience was obvious. Eala was pressing, trying to blast winners from impossible positions, perhaps feeling she needed to carry the pair. Jen appeared tense, her footwork just a split second slower than normal, but then something changed in the seventh game. It was a slight adjustment, but a decisive one. Eala and Jen began communicating more. You could see it between points, the hand signals, the quiet words, the high fives. Even after losing points, they stopped operating as two singles players sharing a court and began moving as one unit. They started attacking Leylah Fernandez's backhand volley. It was a risky approach because Fernandez is so steady, but they identified that she was having minor trouble with higher balls. Eala began using her heavy topspin forehand not to blast through Fernandez, but to drop the ball at her feet. This was a level of maturity we have been waiting to see from Alex Eala. She realized she could not overpower them, so she needed to outmaneuver them. Despite a late push where they earned one break back, Fernandez and Linovic closed out the opening set 6-4, but the momentum had changed. The 6-4 scoreline flattered the favorites. The final 3 games of that set were a battle. Eala and Jen had come alive. Set 2, the Southeast Asian resurgence. The second set began with the Southeast Asian duo bringing an entirely different presence. It was measured aggression. Janice Jen, who had been targeted throughout the first set, suddenly became the instigator. She began poaching boldly at the net. That is a frightening tactic against Mladenovic, who can reflex a ball back faster than you can react, but Jen showed no fear. She intercepted 3 cross-court shots in the opening game alone. They held serve. This allowed Eala freedom with Jen controlling the front of the court. Eala could unload from the baseline. We saw the Eala forehand, the weapon that has carried her into the top 50, begin to command rallies. She pushed Linovic backward, dragging the Frenchwoman out of her comfort zone at the net and anchoring her to the baseline. When Linovic is stuck at the baseline, she remains dangerous, but she is manageable. When she is at the net, she is deadly. Eala's task was to keep her pinned back, and she executed it flawlessly. The pivotal moment of the second set arrived at 3-all. Fernandez was serving. It became a marathon game that lasted more than 12 minutes. 5 deuces. The crowd was chanting Alex Janice. The volume was overwhelming. On the 6th deuce, Eala ripped a return down the line, a no-man's-land strike that froze Mladenovic. Break point. On the following point, we saw the partnership click. A long rally, a lob from Jen, a smash from Fernandez that was not fully finished. Then Eala stepped in and hammered a cross-court backhand winner. The break came, the stadium exploded 4-3 to the underdogs. From there, they never looked back. They held serve comfortably and then broke Linovic to claim the set 6-3. 1 set apiece. The story had completely flipped. Shock was building in WTA doubles. The third set was a super tiebreak. First to 10 points. This is a lottery. It is a sprint. It tests your nerves more than your technique. Every mistake is magnified. Every winner is priceless. It began disastrously for Eala and Jen. They fell behind 0-3 immediately. Fernandez fired an ace and Linovic struck 2 reflex volley winners. The experience gap appeared to be re-emerging. The veterans understood how to start quickly, but at 0-3 Alex showed why she represents the future of Asian tennis. She stayed calm. She delivered a serve straight down the tee untouchable. 1-3. Then during a rally, Jen struck a reflex volley that grazed the net cord and dropped over. A touch of luck, yes, but luck favors the bold. 2-3. The points went back and forth. 4-4, 5-5, 6-6. The tension was suffocating. You could hear a pin drop before each serve, followed by a roar after every point. At 7-all, a moment of brilliance from Janice Jen. Fernandez struck a swinging volley that looked like a guaranteed winner. Jen read it, lunged, and floated a blocked volley lob over Mladenovic's head. It landed directly on the baseline. It was the shot of the tournament, 8-7. Now Eala serving, she missed her first serve, the tension intensified. Second serve, a daring kick serve out wide. Fernandez stepped in to hammer it but mistimed it slightly, sending it long. 9-7, match point. 2 match points for the Southeast Asian Dream Team. The final point is burned into my memory. Jen serving, she went with a body serve on Linovic. Linovic blocked it back. Eala moved across looking to poach, but Mladenovic read it and went down the line. Ella adjusted in midair, literally changing direction in a split second, and managed to get her racket on the ball, feathering a drop volley that died on the surface, or rather the hard court, but died as if it were caught in quicksand. Fernandez scrambled. She reached it. She flicked it upward, but Jim was waiting. An overhead smash not struck with power but placed perfectly between the two legends. Game, set, match. Ella and Jen. The scoreline 4-6, 6-3, 10-7. Why is this so stunning? Because on paper, Fernandez and Linovic should win that super tiebreak 9 times out of 10. They have been there before, they own the trophies. But Ella and Jen played with a hunger that simply overwhelmed the resumes of their opponents. Let's break down the key numbers that define this upset. First, break point conversion. In the second set, Ella and Jen went 2 for 2 on break points. Ruthless. They did not earn many opportunities, but when they got one, they capitalized. Compare that to the opening set where they were 0 for 4. That mental adjustment made all the difference. Second, net control. Surprisingly, the team that dominated the net in the latter half of the match was not the team featuring Linovic. It was Ella and Jen. Jen's fearless poaching shattered the opponent's rhythm. They forced Fernandez and Linovic to aim for increasingly smaller margins, which led to unforced errors. Third, the left-handed factor. Having two lefties on court, Fernandez and Ella creates unusual spin patterns, but Ella used her left-handed edge more effectively in the ad court. Her cross-court forehand into Fernandez's backhand, a lefty versus lefty exchange, was consistently deeper and heavier. Ella was winning baseline rallies against Fernandez, which forced Linovic to intervene, opening gaps behind her. We also have to address the Civil War storyline. Leylah Fernandez is a fierce competitor. She hates losing. There were moments in that match where she was pumping herself up, shouting, "Come on," in a way we usually only see during Grand Slam singles battles. She treated Ella not as a junior countrywoman but as a genuine threat, and Ella responded the same way. There was no distinction. Ella did not look at Fernandez as a star she hopes to become. She saw her as the obstacle she needed to eliminate. That psychological shift is enormous for Alex. She's no longer just grateful to be here. She belongs here. And for Janice Jen, this is a career-defining moment. To go toe-to-toe with Kristina Linovic and not merely survive but excel places her firmly on the radar of every scout and coach in the tennis world. It validates the efforts of the Indonesian tennis program. It confirms that her run in Sao Paulo was not a fluke. This victory propels Ella and Jen into the quarterfinals of a WTA 500 event. The ranking points they collect here are significant. For Ella, it reinforces her place in the top 50 and nudges her toward the top 40. For Jen, it represents a massive climb in the doubles rankings. But beyond the points, it sends a message. The All of Asia shocked headline is not clickbait. It is a wake-up call for the tour. A new power block is emerging in the doubles circuit. It is young. It is hungry, and it comes from Southeast Asia. As we close this extended coverage, I want to leave you with a thought about what this night truly represents in the tennis landscape. For decades, the narrative has been dominated by Europe and North America. We have had Asian champions Lina, Naomi Osaka, doubles legends like Ai Sugiyama and Peng Shuai. But what we are witnessing now with Alexandra Eala and Janice Jen is the next wave. It is a connected wave. A Filipino and an Indonesian, rivals turned partners, taking down a transatlantic powerhouse. This match at the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open was not just a win, it was a warning. It was a message to the locker room that Southeast Asian pairings cannot be underestimated. You cannot rely on experience alone. For Alex Eala, this week in Abu Dhabi is becoming a fairy tale. Still alive in singles and now creating magic in doubles. She is proving she has the endurance and versatility to compete on multiple fronts at the highest level. For Janice Jen, the spotlight is now on her. She has stepped out of the shadows and into center stage. We will continue to follow their journey into the quarterfinals. Who awaits them, it doesn't matter. After tonight, they will fear no one. The chemistry is locked in. The confidence is soaring. And the support from the fans, millions watching online and thousands inside the stadium, gives them wings that other teams simply do not possess. This has been a special update. The headlines will shout shock, but for those of us who have followed the steady grind, the relentless work, and the brilliance of these young women, this is not a surprise. It is destiny realized. Make sure you keep your notifications on. We will return with a quarterfinal preview, analyzing their next opponents and breaking down the tactical adjustments needed to keep this dream run alive. For now, from the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open, this is the story of the day. The day Southeast Asia stood tall, the day the giants fell, the day the shockwave rippled through the tennis world. I'm signing off. Keep your eyes on the ball and your hearts in the game. Good night.